One to order. We'll get to that. Okay. Public hearing number one, marijuana license renewal 901 Main Street, Oxford, LLC. Doing business as Maine's Alternative Care. Anybody from the public wish to speak? Anybody from the board? Any problems?
No.
Chief.
And you guys did your inspections, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, I'll close public hearing number one. We'll move on to public hearing number two, the marijuana license renewal, Faded CC LLC. Comments from the public? Comments from the board? Chief?
Same thing there.
All good. Last call. Close the public hearing. We'll call the selectmen's meeting to order. Flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Action on the minutes. So
Second.
moved and seconded. Any comment, questions? All in favor? Vote. Adjustments to the agenda.
The only comment I want to make is signing the warrants. It's 112 through 117 and then 01. So because we changed fiscal years. So there's no 118.
0.
Yep. That's it.
Public comments.
Joyce Ryder. I was not here for the town meeting in the day of the meeting. I know, but I was reading the report afterwards. I know you were passing a bond issue on fixing roads, and I saw that Claude, which is our road, is scheduled for work. When is this going to happen? I mean, because I had asked Adam to have somebody come down and look. We have actions that need to be done, and I was just wondering if it's already in the budget. I don't know what the procedure is. You know, how long is this, a 5 year? 5 years they're going to come and pave it, or what the deal is? I don't quite understand.
Do you want to talk about that now or wait until the
Oh, is
agenda?
there
item?
something? I'm sorry.
It is on the agenda. It's
Oh,
5.4.
Oh, okay.
Any other public comment? Moving on. Business items, 5.1, review and approve marijuana license renewal, 901 Main Street, Oxford. Doing business as Maine's Alternative Caring, Oxford LLC, medical cannabis store.
So,
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor? So vote. 5.2, marijuana license renewal, Faded CC LLC, medical cannabis tier 2 cultivation facility.
So
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Vote. 5.3, review and accept $100 donation from the Oxford Advent Christian Church to the Fire Department Equipment Reserve.
Motion to accept.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Vote. No, Colleen Scott called.
Okay, that's fine.
I know, I'm moving too fast, yeah. Whatever. They look the same. Buddy sitting over there. 5.4, review award 6-year road bond RFP. Town manager?
all right, so just as a quick recap, which was already kind of mentioned, is through the budget process, it was discussed about getting a 3-year road bond, a $3 million road bond to take care of some of the major road issues. Town meeting did vote in favor of moving forward with the road bond. So what we're doing here tonight is that I, as the town manager and treasurer, need authorization from the board to move forward with doing any kind of funding. So we put out a bid an RFP requesting financing options from different banks. The only one that got back to us was Androscoggin Bank. They do a lot of municipal lending. They offered us two options. Option A, which is a 6-year note, which is what we requested, and the interest rate would be 5.79% interest, or option B, which would be a interest rate of 5.29 for interest. And the reason for the difference is that option B, they want us to move all of our banking to their bank. Over the life of the loan, that's about a $64,000 difference between the two. Face value, that sounds great, but you need to take into consideration what we're earning for interest on our current banking with Northeast versus what would be earning there. And we're earning about 1% more at Northeast than we would if we went to them. Also, I would be cautious just by moving our bank. It's much like at home or any business. You move your banking and all of your electronic payment systems and all that stuff have to be changed to things and so forth. So it would be a pretty big undertaking to do that. In short, I am recommending that the board consider the option A, which is the 5.79 6-year note. And that is already 0.2% less than what we had for proposal at town meeting. 5.99 was the estimated interest rate at that time. So if the board is interested in moving forward with that option, they have what's called a resolution for the select board to review and sign. That's included in your packets. And basically what that does is it gives the town manager treasurer authorization to move forward with the borrowing. And then I would ask that you also would vote on whether or not to award the bid to Androscoggin Bank and which option you would propose. So,
If you get a number on what that, I get it, then the Northeast is paying you on interest on the thing, but what does that amount to? I'm just curious.
like over 6 years, I did not get that far into the math. If you really want, we didn't have time to get that far into the math. So, I mean, we're bringing in, we do bring in a significant amount of interest, bank interest. I think last year it was around like $70,000 or $80,000 in bank interest that we brought in. So
In a year.
in a year.
No, I
There'd be a difference. I mean, you're gonna get some interest if you move it too, so it's not like you're gonna lose all that interest.
Right.
Why doesn't anybody else bid on that? Like, why is there, just out of curiosity, why is there a sole bidder on that? Is it municipal bonds not,
It seems like municipal lending is one of those things that it's not every bank that wants or can do that. So a lot of times it's like Maine Community Bank, I've seen them do some. I've seen Androscoggin's like one of the primary ones. So it's those that are, anybody that does business with, we sent it out to a handful. We sent it out to the bank right out here. We've got a bond with currently TD. We sent it out, but they're the only ones that were interested. So I think one of the other things is too, maybe because we're looking for a 6-year note versus a 5, could be, but they were the only ones that were interested.
is there any, do we ever like weigh out the option on the cost of interest? What it will cost for interest over 6 years versus putting these projects off and the increase in construction cost? So I know it's gonna cost more. If we wait 6 years to fix some of these roads, we're gonna cold patch them and, send crews out to work on them, and in 6 years, the cost of asphalt will be more. Do we do any of that, trying to figure that in to see if borrowing is always the best option?
So as far as doing a study of what we're projecting for the cost of the materials and so forth, I mean, obviously we know it gets more expensive every year.
Yeah.
This past year, when we went through the budget process, there was a conversation about the road plan that we had. I did bring forward to the board, and I flat out asked, is that something you want to borrow for versus a portion or nothing? And the direction that we went was we wanted to borrow enough money to be able to do all of the road projects to get caught up.
Mhm.
And that's something I think we've been working on for the last few years, is to get caught up on the roads. So obviously the interest rates are important, but I think an argument that's been is that it's always more expensive next year than it would be this year. So granted, over 6 years, we're spending real money on interest here, as you can see, so. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
Partially, yeah.
I mean, was a study 100% done on the differences? No. I could not produce a spreadsheet that would show that.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
It's almost a continuation of the bond we're on now. So we have a road bond. But this is the last year of the payment, so we're not gonna have double payments either. This payment will just basically kick in when the other payment's done. So it's not, we're not looking at an increase. I understand what you're saying. It costs more to borrow money.
Right.
So.
Something that, you know, you have to have a plan, right, and put a plan in motion, and it's probably something you might want to work towards,
Absolutely.
not needing to do that.
I think ultimately what would be nice to see is that we have, we get caught up on the roads, we're paying our bond payments, and we start putting enough money aside each year so that we can be saving money. We did that last year. We put about $250,000 into road account. And if we were doing that on a consistent basis, we would have enough funds on hand that when we needed to do a road, we probably could do it with minimal borrowing or no borrowing at all. But when we get behind, now we're playing catch up.
And that's real money, like you said, when you finance yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real,
That's real money.
very real money.
Yeah.
Did you want me to hit on Joyce's thoughts from earlier real quick, or?
We can, I know go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna mention on how the timeline that we're kind of looking at is if the selectmen decide to award this tonight, is that I would then be in touch with the attorney who would then help us through the closing process. These things would go, the first thing we would have to do is work with the engineer to do all the surveying and planning and all that kind of stuff. That would happen over the course of the rest of the summer and the spring. The hope would be that these things would be ready to put out to bid mid-winter, so that people would be picking it up for their spring and summer work. And you know, we'd have to look at the the bid prices and so forth. The hope would be to do a bulk of this work next summer. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Adam, just a quick question. Now, we approved, the town approved $3 million. So if this all comes to fruition and all these roads come in at, I don't know, 2.5 million, the bond's only gonna be for 2.5 million, right?
The bond is for $3 million.
No matter what.
No matter what, we're asking for 3. So the way that it was crafted is the roads are done in priority, on the list. They're listed in priority. Some of those are some pretty big ticket ones, like East Oxford Road, Samroe Hill Road. I think the one that Scott mentioned is like a rock wall underneath the road. I mean, so some of these are going to be pretty big ticket ones, and so there is a room for some contingency. If there's money left over, we can do more, shim and overlays and some other location. We can. That's the thought process all along. Is if these other ones don't take up the whole amount, then we're going to try and get much
Do
bigger.
something.
Yeah.
And that would answer my next question, in other roads. So that's what you kind of leave it open-ended, so if we have the money,
We can continue to, right, so when we get.
we have a plan somewhere that what roads need and where we're going.
Yeah, so in your packet, you've got that from Pine Tree Engineering. That's something Jim and the engineer and I worked on together, is the preliminary cost estimate. But those are all in order of what we felt was importance, if you will. The remainder of Rabbit Valley, number 6.
Priority.
Yep. So,
Gotcha, yeah.
yep. And then as you see, when you get all the way to the far end of that, it starts to get to some pretty, small portions, so I mean, it's just. Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Entertained motion?
Make a motion for option A.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the option A, 5.79 interest rate. Further discussion?
I'm just assuming that's where Adam wants to go to, right? We're on board with that, like that's the.
That was what he wanted.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah.
All in favor? Vote.
I'll pass around that resolution for you folks to sign when the rest of the signature stuff comes around.
Good enough.
Thank you.
5.5, review and accept $25,000 Stephen Tabitha King Foundation grant for police department drug scanner.
Motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I had a question, if I may. The check amount and the amount that they wrote in the letter are two different amounts.
We
Have
emailed
you-
them.
Okay.
And they sent back a message saying, go ahead and use those funds.
So they made a mistake one way or the other, but they're good with the $25,000 check, and you have that in an email.
Yep.
Any other? All those in favor? Vote. We send them a thank you.
Absolutely. They also, they asked, if we can send them pictures of that sometime and use too, that shows them that it's being utilized. I'll make sure that it's done also.
Sure will be used a lot.
A lot. If I may, this is a really good tool, something we've needed for a long time. And it helps our officers because they don't have to handle these drugs as much by hand. Because this will help detect what that substance is through like a Ziploc bag. So it's a lot safer for us to handle this. So I was really tickled to see we got that.
5.6, review approved planning board bylaws.
All right, so the two changes that you're gonna see, or the two major changes you're gonna see is, one with the bylaws is in section 4, they were supposed to elect a secretary from the membership, but we have been providing a town employee, an assistant clerk or whatever to do it. So it's changed to allow for a town employee to act as a secretary. And then the other thing is that I forgot to put in your packet is that it changes the start of the meeting from 7 PM to 6 PM. And they've been traditionally starting at 6 PM anyway. So we're just making it so the bylaws reflect those changes. Other than that, they're pretty much on par with each other. So the selectmen are asked to adopt the updated bylaws.
Entertained a motion,
Motion to accept.
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? So vote. Department head report, Chief Jack.
Yes. So to start with, before I came up here, I checked our numbers where we are at the year, where we're mid-year. We're nearing the 2,000 calls for service at this point right now, which is keeping us right up with where we was last year. A lot of things we've been doing around town to try to help with some of the traffic issues that are happening. I'm sure when you came here, you noticed the traffic on 26 right now is horrible. I got the radar trailer out. I've had it in 2 locations right now, and the residents in both of those locations have thanked me for having that there. They said it has made a difference. They've noticed that. The one thing with the radar trailer that I currently have, it's about 20 years old, and it doesn't collect data. And I fight with that thing all the time to make sure that it's working, but it's a good tool to use. So we're also searching for grants to maybe get a new trailer. I think it'd be beneficial to the town to get those stats. So,
Ricky, I'm assuming that, what stats, what's it track?
it would track the average speed of the vehicles coming through, the high speeds, all that kind of thing. So I think it'd be good data to bring to you and also to help us writing other grants too.
Doesn't take pictures.
It does not. People don't realize that because they see the radar antenna, it's a white thing on it, and they think that's a camera, so it helps. One issue I had too was I had it set up on Corner Brook Road a couple years ago, and somebody drove by and threw a beer bottle at it and damaged the corner. Of course, the thing is almost 20 years old, so I've been trying to take it apart, preserve the batteries, and do things with the nodes inside to make sure it's working. I've kept it going so far, but it's a tool that at some point I would like to replace that. And again, we are seeking grants all the time to try to help with the taxpayer base a little bit for stuff. This drug analyzer was a big thing. We've looked at them for like 3 years now. The cost of those just keep going up. So like I said, it keeps everybody safer.
What's the life expectancy of that?
I would say probably 10 years.
You'd be looking at-
And that's me pushing it too.
Yeah.
Because technology changes all the time in the drug world. So I'm sure there's updates that we're gonna be able to get for that. But I'm hoping it'll go that far, but we'll see. Also, we're looking at a grant. There's grants out there right now that will help us with Route 26 getting added coverage for there. We have a grant right now for some of the side roads for speed, and we've been doing that, but 26 needs some special attention also. Our crashes are getting fairly high there right now, and again, the traffic is incredible. We all know that. K-9 Coder and Officer Rob graduated the academy a week and a half ago. They both got certified in building search, tracking, evidence, location, apprehension, and officer protection, along with a few other things they get certified for. Next year, they'll go back to school for another 8 weeks to get drug certified. So basically, the K-9 is certified for patrol right now. So we're really excited to get that on the road next week and have that officer back too from the academy. And speaking of that, we're prepping right now for 2 of our officers to go to the full-time academy in August. So I'm working with scheduling and everything to make that happen and get them back on the road. We've noticed we've got a lot fewer issues at Pismo Beach right now compared to past years. We've tried to increase our patrols there, and I think it's been working, especially late at night. So we haven't seen the amount of juvenile issues that we've been having there. I hope I'm not jinxing us right now because summer's just starting, but my fingers are crossed and things have been better. So complaints haven't been as bad. We had a gentleman here the last meeting that talked about some ATV problems. I did get with the president of the ATV club, working with him to help some of the members kind of help self-police some of those issues. They've been great to work with. We haven't had any other complaints come in since that gentleman was here. We did have a fatal ATV crash that happened in East Oxford that was on a trail, though not on the road. First responders from the PD and rescue showed up to that. Where that was on a trail, the warden service eventually came and took that investigation over, but we was there to assist them and all of that too. That was very unfortunate. We're still working on becoming accredited. That's moving forward. That is a lot of work. I can tell you that. I've been working on that as much as I possibly can when time will allow, but it'll be worth it when we're done. The 300 went well at the racetrack last night. Everybody seemed pretty happy about that. We're now focusing on the 250 that'll be coming up the end of August. Mike Mayberry's been good to work with, so things are going really good there. We are also dealing with a gang out of New York. They're trying to move into the Oxford Hills to peddle large amounts of drugs. I've been working with some other agencies on this. We had an incident that started in Paris where a known drug house was shot up. The people fled, a pursuit happened that we assisted in. They threw an AR rifle out the window, came through our town, went to Mechanic Falls and crashed. 4 individuals in the vehicle. One of those subjects we learned finally had a warrant for murder out of New York. So we also had members from the same gang setting up basically a house here in Oxford. And we've applied enough pressure to that certain resident in that neighborhood. We've made several arrests there, and I'm hoping that we kind of push that along, but we're keeping an eye on that. Also, another notable thing, we had a call one night of a possible suicidal male subject with a shotgun who had fired a round off. So the officers got there, we set up a little command post. We launched our drone that night, located that subject. And our drone has a little speaker on the front of it. We was able to fly that drone over that subject and talk him to come out to the road, where we was able to take him into custody. And it turned out to be partially a neighbor dispute that he was dealing with, and so we took him to the hospital, and then he ended up in the jail. So we've been dealing with some pretty serious things. A lot of the investigations that we've been dealing with are a lot more complicated and involved right now. So the follow-up investigations have been pretty busy. I even had to go to Lewiston to recover some stolen property they got for us on one of our cases yesterday. So we're running all around. And we're also doing things like Touch a Truck. You guys was at that too. That's been great. The kids love that and all of that. So pretty much what I got, but we're staying pretty steady.
Questions?
Just real quick, the speed radar thing you were speaking.
The radar trail?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know you're looking at a grant, just roughly, how much do those things cost?
Depending upon what the trailer will do, if it'll collect all that data, if it has a camera or if it doesn't have a camera, $15,000 to $20,000.
On the trailer, if you haven't, I checked with Auburn PD. The city got 2 of those. It's also a combined message board as well as, so,
Really?
they got 2, and I believe it was a state grant.
Yep.
And, so, they might be able to, if it's not a resource you already have, they might, but like I said, I think at times the message board would work well.
Well, we already have need for that.
So,
For some large events we have on 26, we've had meetings with DOT. So, yeah, something like that would be very beneficial for the town.
so if you're going into Auburn on Pine Avenue, just as you get past, the old, international dealership, you'll see it on the right-hand side. But it's a message that'll tell you that your current speed is that, or you can use it as a just plain message board as well, so.
Very nice. Yep.
Anything else? Town manager report. Or updates.
Sure. So the biggest thing I was just gonna mention tonight is, we're into the new fiscal year, and so we closed out the books on the 30th, and we're doing, finalizing everything. Some of the APs tonight go to the last fiscal year, so I should have those end of year numbers for you guys, hopefully at the next meeting, so you can see that stuff. And then one of the things that a couple of the board members and I have discussed periodically is I think it's been a couple of years, but the Board of Selectmen did site visits to the different departments. Would go to a department, do a walk around with the department head and the manager, gave an opportunity for the board members to ask questions and actually see where things are and how they work. I'd like to see that we potentially do that again, especially now that we have 2 new folks on the board. What I would probably focus on is that if we did 1 a month, if we maybe did it on the second meeting of the month. Last time we did it before the meeting, so it was 5 p.m. Everybody, met at whichever department it was. We did the walkthrough, and then we came here and at 6 p.m. did the regular meeting. Probably do the departments that are outside first, and then as we get into the winter, we'll do ones that we can be inside for. But is that something that the board would be interested in doing again, or?
I would be.
So I'll start scheduling those, and maybe the second one of this month, which would be what, 17th? Is that when the next meeting is? Yep. So we'll have one for that night, and then and we'll just keep doing it on the second meeting of the month and work through them. So if that works for you guys, then I think that'd be great. Doing them before the meeting, is that easier for everybody than doing them after?
Works for me.
All right. All right. So that's what I got for you tonight.
Selectmen items.
We're looking for a code enforcement officer now. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned it. I'm sorry. The code enforcement officer gave me his letter of resignation, but he is going to be with us for 2 months. He gave us a pretty long notice, so I just advertised for that position. So he was nice enough to give us a whole bunch of notice. If anybody knows anybody that wants to be a code enforcement officer, preferably certified with lots of experience, please send them my way.
Is that like 5 towns that's gonna now be looking for a code enforcement officer?
Yeah, that's their problem.
Yeah, I know.
So is he done, is that what it is? He's done with being code enforcement?
He's re-enlisted, so he will be out of town.
Anything else? Heard rumor that in addition to America's birthday tomorrow, we have another birthday. Mr. Thayer. I'm not gonna throw his age under the bus, but
Let's not talk about
he
that.
knows how old he is, so happy birthday on.
Yeah, he thinks a lot about that.
Other than that, we'll move on. Signing warrants.
We'd just like to say thank you very much for the flowers.
Oh.
My dad's passing, so really appreciate it.
This is from the board and the employees as well.
Signing warrants. Let's move some hand to one right here.
Yes. I bet it'll be faster. Is this good to go? Oh.
Yeah.
I'll stop touching things.
So on this one, make sure they say, I did find it. I will give, and get notification.
Or just hit the 3 and call it good.
Either way, I don't care.
Yes.
About 3 signatures, everybody's here, why shouldn't everybody sign?
Because this is from the school warrant. They need another original sign copy.
Oh, so all 5 of us weren't here.
Correct, so if you and Scott and Floyd sign that one, that'd be great.
Okay, already in social media staff.
That's the finance item and then the 2 marijuana
I can set something up for you.
license. So this-
Excellent. That's perfect. Yep. This is the beginning of the week will be hectic because of the holiday weekend. Yes. We're still waiting. Hopefully not much longer.
Sorry. I kind of like to know what I'm signing. Makes me nervous. Oh, this is the, at home.
Adam needs to sign. Like, he needs to leave it on.
That's the marijuana one, yeah.
I've been out of the loop for a while. So is the grant project going on?
You're telling about
Rabbit Valley Road right now?
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Construction.
Yes, it is.
That's the 7th.
Rabbit Valley Road.
Oh, right, yes, it starts,
Construction.
the construction starts on the 7th, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other road projects going on right now?
Right now, that's the only one that's happening.
Okay.
Yep.
And that is completely grant funded?
$85,000 from the town is our match.
Okay. But that was approved?
Yes. Yep. The 85,000 came from last town meeting, that $250,000.
From the casino down to.
I'll do very impressed. But when you say start, it's not just. Well, I'm surprised these days moving any direction.
That's it? Those two? Okay. Jesus.
I haven't been down through that, I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
I feel like that's one of the young faces.
Yeah. Someone has got.
All right, thanks.
Entertain a motion on the warrants.
Motion to accept warrants. 112 to 117,
10-01.
and what?
01.
And 01.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor? Vote.
Make a motion, we go into executive session. 10-1, enter an executive session to discuss disposition of property, real estate pursuant to MRSA Title 1, Chapter 13, Section 456A.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Vote. Thank you, folks. Have a good weekend.
Have a good July 4th.